Bye.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Teviot Valley Community Board meeting, 31 October 2024. Special welcome to our new mayor, Emma Allen. Congratulations, and looking forward to working with you.
Me too.
In the next 10 months or 11 months. And I'll talk a little bit more. I didn't get a chance to say farewell to our outgoing Mayor Tim Teviot, but I'll talk about that in my shares report. Apologies. Note that we are down one member with the resignation of Russell Reid being accepted by our chief executive on Friday last week. Again, we'll address that in the formal part of the meeting, so there's no apologies. I move that there are no apologies to be accepted, so I don't know what we're doing. Public forum. We have Ben Hamilton from the Sports Centre. He's okay.
Yeah. You can come and grab a seat there. Ben's up behind you. How you going?
Oh, thanks for the invite along. So essentially today just presenting on, Sally and I caught up at the start of the month. I'm new to the role. I started at the start of September, so I was reaching out just to understand what's going on in the area and where we can support. So working through this plan from now is, if we can click through to the next slide. The first thing we discussed really was around the pool. And a big thing was finding lifeguards. So for us, we're trying to help support that, get some lifeguards on board, and through that we'll promote the positions through our page, and then support with lifeguard trainings. So that's a big step. It's about a 4-week process once if no one has any training to get them on board. So a real push is to get people locked in the next week or two, so we can get them ready for their opening on the 1st of December. With the 1st of December, we're planning a opening day party. So working with the Lions Club around getting a barbecue happening. We've got Mr. Whippy coming down, just have some music and some of our play equipment. On top of that, we're happy to continue promoting the Rochford Pool through our channels as a destination for families to come over the summer month. I think they'll be important over the holiday season. And then there was also the idea around exploring opportunities for a swim club in the area. So just keeping the feelers out for that. If anyone here has got any ideas around that, that'd be great. So it's really just pushing that promotion of the pool throughout the summer, making sure we can support it being operational through having lifeguards there. If we go through to the next slide. The tracks in the area, so the walking and biking tracks in the area. Obviously through our channels, we're keen to promote them as much as possible. Once some of the tracks are finished, we'd like to look at sort of doing an opening day. Which would be exciting. And then obviously there'd be a big promotional push around that. Another exciting thing that we sort of came up with an idea around is possibly some QR codes on signs that could take them to a website link, and that had sort of all trails or tracks around the area. With that, I would also be keen to look into setting up like a treasure hunt with tracks around the area, so people could come for the day and sort of get around the area a bit. And if we could possibly link that into exploring some opportunities with local businesses. So, you know, you complete the treasure hunt, you might get 10% off a coffee or something along that. So getting people in the area and into the local businesses. That's just something to explore at the moment. moving forward with that is looking at opportunities for the school kids in the area. So I've got a meeting next week with the school to discuss things. A big idea that Sally and I talked about was the bike track down by the river. So kids have taken up an initiative to start building something around that. So how can we support that, and looking at having maybe like a day for local adults to come down and support that as well. Obviously the kids have taken the initiative, but let them take the lead on it. But
Is that by the river or is that
Yeah.
the frog rock one?
No, the one down by the river.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
about this frog rock going to, they doing anything, because
They will be, yeah.
What about up on Brothers Hill track that we?
So this is just, so that, none of that started yet, so Kath's gonna be doing that. This is kids that have already started building a track and like they're building jumps. So if we get like a jump expert down to actually show them how to build tracks, jumps properly, like it's just kind of enabling them because they've had the initiative and they've already done a great job. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. Sorry, so who is doing this?
just local kids, school kids,
Oh.
sort of 10, 12-year-olds.
if we get an expert down, we're paying for that.
that would be something that I would try and
Yeah.
get people down that I wouldn't. No, on top of most of this, the ideas I'm having is hopefully a lot of them can just fall under me helping organise, so there won't be extra costs for certain things. As the idea essentially, and fall under my role. I met with Lawn Bowls here a couple of weeks ago, and obviously they've got a pretty dropping membership rate at the moment. I think 22 members and 70% or so were over the age of 65 or 70. So a real push in how do we get some school kids along to that. So working with them to create some events and obviously talking to the school about how we can get some more kids along there. Cool. So at this stage, that's about where I'm at with the cool school kids stuff until I catch up with them next week. And then from there we can build on some more talking points. We do have, Port Central do have a Te Manawa fund, so supporting some kids initiatives, so seeing what they're going to do. Good. Other things in the area, I've had Pat from Miller's Flat ring me about, he's got an idea and he wants to look at a development in the tennis court and bowls club he's got there. So he's just exploring some options around that. I'm not sure if anyone else has heard about that in the area at this point, but
Yeah, I've done a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
So we're progressing that.
yeah, cool. So just, I'm all ears with that and we can support with that going forward. The next thing for us is like obviously just through general promotion of opportunities in the area. So I'm keen to set up a weekly post on our social pages, starting and just going through what's going on in the area, obviously promoting some tracks, promoting some things at the pool, anything we can sort of come up against. So yeah, essentially that's where I'm at this stage. And any other suggestions or things going on sport related, please let me know and I'm happy to support.
Yeah, the Miller's Flat one, we're thinking of having an all-weather netball and tennis and put a little bike area for kids and playground there. Yeah.
Seems like a cool initiative, but obviously not really sure where that's at this stage, but from us, Pat asked about possibly supporting what the area looks like as well.
Yeah. So we've got, I guess, the demographically challenged in sports participants in this valley because most of our people are older. So it would be good to stretch your remit to include the sports, not just for the younger community, but for the old too. Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
You train up kids, the last year kids at school for lifeguard, or are they too young? They'll be too young, won't they?
Yeah, I guess.
You have to be 16. Yeah.
But you're not allowed to call one, not count until you're 18.
Yeah, true.
Change your gender at 7, but you can't go and forward.
No, no, you can't be there without, because if we don't have a lifeguard there, yeah.
So that's, that's a pool that can't be,
But I think the point of getting Ben along today was just, we had a conversation, we're coming up with all these things, and Ben's there to help us
Yeah.
promote things, and we
Right.
can have lots
That's
more
great,
ideas
yeah.
and conversation, but I think it's just really great to know what, you know, what Ben can help us with
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, we're there to explore.
And promotion for the valley in terms of outdoor activities for people coming through in the summer.
I mean, one of our challenges is getting people to stop here, they'll fly through here. But if there's things for them to do, like, you know, like say the activities that will bring kids to town and keep them here overnight, that's fantastic.
And that's sort of where the idea along the treasure hunt on the tracks comes along,
Yeah.
and if you can link local business into that.
Yeah.
And part of the reason we haven't put our signage up yet for like the river track is because we're still working on the idea of the QR, because we want the QR code to be on the main sign at King George Park, and we're going to have it right front and centre. So a lot of people stop there, they'll see that there is walking tracks that you can do from King George. And then we're thinking maybe the QR code should go back to one of the council, you know, one of the tourism pages for Roxburgh that's already set up. Would be a good page to go back to, and then we can have, the click through of the treasure hunt. And
The treasure hunt's a really good idea, and I was just reading too that somebody found the last of some golden rabbit or something in a city in Europe. 11 years after,
right.
it had taken that long
Yeah.
to find the last one. It's very
And
cool.
part of the idea of the treasure hunt came from when I was on the fruit growers group a couple of years ago, and we did a treasure hunt for the fruit pickers, and so it was so that they could explore the valley, and it went from the dam down to Lonely Graves.
Oh,
And so I started off in Roxburgh doing the treasure hunt in Roxburgh, and I walked around, and then I realised I can do the full treasure hunt without getting in my car. So then Carl goes, oh, just bike down to Lonely Groves then. So I did. It was like 60 something K's there and back. And I got to Lonely Groves, I was like, okay, I'm here now, I'll go home. But I passed Pinders Pond, the bakery and Miller's Flat along the way. And then I was like, right, now I've got to go to the dam. So like about a week later, I went up to the dam and did the race course. And I did the whole thing without getting in my car. But that's not to say, you know, but the whole reason for putting that together was so that people that are coming here could find our cool spots. And then while they're here for 6 months, they could go back to Pinders or go back to one of the spots that they'd found in the treasure hunt.
Yeah, no, I really like that idea. It's a good one.
Right, yeah. So Ben, who funds Sports Central?
So can I, I was just going to give some context why Ben is here.
Yeah.
So the council providing a grant along with LNC to Sports Central is basically a sub grant of Sport Otago. And a grant of around 5,000 ringgit or something like that.
How many? 5,000.
45.
Oh, okay.
And we have a memorandum of understanding with Sport Otago to deliver certain outcomes and programs through the year. And they come and give an official report to council annually. So that's done one not long ago. So on the year's results, and it's district wide, and it's mostly focused on children and keeping children more active and doing sports things for kids and assisting schools and things. So it's focused there. This is that.
right.
So we just need to give what we're asking them to do, but we can't deliver what's published. So we're really good for what we are.
All right, thanks. Are there any more questions for Ben? Comment? Feedback? Great. Thanks for your time.
Very good. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, next item on the list, confirmation of the minutes. Previous meeting, I take them as read. Can I move that they be accepted. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Carry. Declarations of interest. I remind members that we have an obligation to complete and keep updated our declarations of interest. Shall I understand you haven't completed the declarations of interest?
I've got nothing to do. I've got no declarations of interest at all.
So you're not a property owner in the bank?
My name's on the title, but no, not really.
So
I mean, I'm not involved in any business or
have you or have you not completed a declaration of interest?
probably not, because I had nothing to declare.
So-
I've got nothing to declare. I'm not involved in any business, commercial.
Without completing the declaration of interest, it cannot be assured that you have no conflict of interest with any of the business that we discussed. That was the reason that the
No,
code
if
of conduct.
I had a conflict of interest, I'll tell you, but I simply haven't.
I can resend the pecuniary interest.
Sorry?
I can resend the interest.
Yeah.
Just so that you can reconsider it.
That'll be fine.
I mean, if you
Well,
want to say no, no, you just don't have any interest, and your husband, it has to be, yeah.
And your husband
We've
as
all-
well.
we've all done
It's-
We've
We've all had to do it. Every elected member's had to do it.
But yeah, I'll do it. I'm happy to do it.
It's got to be kept updated. There's no point in us putting at risk any decision that's taken at this stage
I wouldn't do
because someone might
It's not.
perceive there is a conflict of interest. I's dotted, T's crossed.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the 2025 meeting schedule. Sarah?
So as in previous years, we've just pre-published the meeting schedule just to give busy members certainty around the calendar for next year. There's nothing particularly to note in terms of Teviot Valley meeting, other than the February meeting, which will be on Wednesday instead of Thursday, Tuesday, on training day.
So Wednesday, is that the 8th?
This Wednesday the 5th, rather than Thursday the 6th, which is quite an. And that
Okay.
may follow the normal 6-week cycle and all fall on Thursday. So we just ask you,
With the attendance by teams, it's a bit unreliable, I found, and sometimes I've been away and haven't been able to get on. Particularly if you're overseas, it just doesn't.
doesn't work overseas.
It doesn't work overseas. Is there a reason for that?
I think team capability isn't allowed to join live events, which is how we run the team meetings at this stage. Could be looked at.
Yeah, I mean, I've done teams with other organisations while I'm overseas, but it must be some security setting that's.
I think it's a live event setting that is the different kind of format for the meeting, which doesn't allow overseas participation for members of the service. So we can certainly review that.
We can explore that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also find that it needs really high quality internet access. I mean, if you're stuck in a hotel room somewhere, it's like a concrete bunker. You've got no hope of maintaining continuity.
Right, looks very pretty, that, all the colours, it was very
And you'll
good.
just pop all those into our calendar anyway, won't you? Yeah, so once we've had it confirmed, we'll be able to set up all those dates for them.
And we'd like it to be 9 o'clock starts as well again next year, because we changed that during this year. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
great.
Is
Works
it
well.
working with you council guys, 9 o'clock? Done?
Yes,
Great.
I'll answer on behalf of all of them.
Okay, anyone else got anything we want to highlight about that calendar? July seems to be, well, June and July seem to be relatively free for when most people take their holiday around here. So, do you want me to move that?
Yes, please, that the Teviot Valley Community Board, A, receives a report on its excellent significance, and B, adopts the proposed 2025 community schedule for the Teviot Valley Community.
So I'll move that be so. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yep.
All those in favour say aye.
No.
Those against say no. Carried. page there. That's this one's- The mayor's report. Crikey. You're up in front of the centre pretty quickly this morning.
Thank you. Yes, yes indeed. Yeah, not quite 24 hours in, so there's not huge amounts to report. Other than I am delighted to be here all with you in this seat, and I very much look forward to spending more time in the Teviot and probably coming down for the pool party, I think, on Perth with the kids, and also Miller's Flat Pool, and just sort of getting around the trip a bit more to some of the more unique places. So it's be very exciting. We had a very enjoyable camping trip last year to Pinder's Pond, and might have to put that on the list again.
Cool.
Spare bike probably in itself.
Yeah, bring a bike, yep. And yeah, hopefully you will feel like you can contact me about anything, or if there's something that you think that I should know or be aware of, feel free to give me a call or an email at any time. Yeah, I do enjoy having coffee catch up, so if you've got a favourite cafe, I will be there.
Good, thank you. I'll just move that the mayor's report be accepted. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yep, I'll second that.
All those in favour say aye. Those against say nay. Carried. And welcome, anyway. My report. Very brief. Firstly, I didn't get the opportunity to attend, or I couldn't take up the opportunity to attend Tim's farewell. So in his absence, I'd just like to thank him for his, I guess, dedication to his job, and particularly our ward during his time as mayor. I first met him. He was sitting in our kitchen, talking to us about what had happened in the previous 24 hours on November 27, 2017. The majority of the flats of our orchard and nearly our house were under half a metre of water and silt as the result of Golf Course Creek culvert blocking. It all happened within like 30 minutes. It just happened so quickly. But, and I look back at, I walked into this room, community board at the time were all sat around, the emergency response guys. It was just a hive of activity, and Tim was here pretty much 24/7 like everybody else. And I thought to myself, if that's a representation of the dedication of the man, that's one of the things that's inspired me to become part of this board over time. So, and of course, following on from that, I've had a lot of support from him personally. And I think that this ward has benefited hugely from his input as well. So thank you, Tim, in your absence. Also, next I'd like to acknowledge Russell Reid, purportedly the oldest serving member of a community board in New Zealand, at 87 at the date of his resignation.
87.
He was 85 in the start of the train, just after the state. Again, Russell, I mean, that was his second term, and he, when I spoke to him the other day, he decided to resign simply because he didn't think the community board was what it was when he, didn't have the, I guess, the ability to perform as he thought it may do, as per his prior term. Our powers of decision and that sort of thing have been reduced significantly over time. And at 87 years old, I think it was, he deserved to be able to retire when he chose to. So thank you, Russell, for your time and your input. On the community scene, I've had a lot of interaction with various groups as I do. AGM of the Medical Services Trust last night, where they had, Tuesday night, where they have a new chair. Interestingly enough, he's a younger, well, the next generation chair, Glenn McDonald, and from the farming community as well, which is good. Very strong trust, and they've got, I guess, under their jurisdictional responsibility, however you like to describe it, one of the biggest assets that the community has that's not council owned in the valley, and that's the medical centre and rest home land and buildings. They support the rest home in a huge way in terms of maintaining, I guess, the facility as such. And with the rest home group, we're looking at how we develop that site. So to better serve the community. Interesting, like when you look at community owned assets and how they can be funded, and like it's not just like a normal commercial activity where you can go out and get a bank loan to grow the business, whether it's through buildings, plant and equipment and so forth. We've got to fundraise all the time. They've been very strong supporters. I've had a lot of feedback through personal contact around burn mowing, which we'll discuss in a bit more now.
Ask David and Rory to come to the table now.
Yeah.
Aye.
Thanks again.
So I guess we've not unexpectedly had some feedback as grass grows beneath our feet.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, it's been generally from the demographic of the community that can't mow their own lawns, that struggle to mow their own lawns. I mean, there is feedback around from everybody about having to mow their own lawns and take responsibility for their burns, but we've got, I guess, a situation where people have to pay others to do their lawns and they are resistant to doing it, or for a number of reasons. One is they can't afford it, or B, they're just reluctant to. So I'm open to suggestions on how we respond. We did take a decision last year, and I think that we need to make sure that our communications to the community are clear. There seems to be some level of, I wouldn't say confusion, but not necessarily correct understanding or interpretation of what and why we took that decision.
Shall I traverse that to start with?
Go on, then.
Yeah,
Please do.
So I actually got the reports here, but also the summary of the reports. And in 2023, this board asked staff to investigate the delivery options for burn mowing here. At the time, there was a number of different costs happening across this part of the ward. You have also vested in a new cemetery, the trails have expanded, things like that. So the cost pressures of the maintenance of this contract was going north. So you asked us to go away and understand firstly how much we were spending on burn mowing, for the board to understand if that money could be redistributed to other places that are potentially more equitable for the community. It works out that about half of the community has vergers in Roxburgh who are having mowed. So obviously half the community were having the, were paying for it and not getting the benefit of it. And that was sort of the discussion of the board at the time.
So it's cross subsidisation going on.
Yeah, yeah. And then the second thing that was in that report was this was the only ward in Central Otago District Council, and we were scratching our heads to find another ward council in New Zealand.
That's just cancelled it.
Yeah, there we go. So
What's Reka?
there's a couple, and so then this board had a report in February meeting of this. This contract was around about, and pillars, CPI around about 159,000. But they had to have gone up by that 20,000, and I guess one side of the head possibly rates down the your was to redistribute it. So just that was in a nutshell.
So it sort of gives us a bit of background as to why we took the decision.
No, the total award budget for open space maintenance is under.
Plus 26. Oh.
We held it there because we didn't do the boom, so that 26.
I'm confused. It was 159.
It's still under those. Yeah.
Because we're not doing the booms, and we've redistributed that money into that budget.
So I thought it was going to be
we're
100,
counting it
become
twice then.
159 plus 26.
But what if we'd kept mowing the booms?
Sorry. I'm confused.
That's
It
26.
was,
So
the
we,
budget was 159 and we had 26 booms,
No, 159 in total, including
booms.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and because of the things that you've invested in, cemetery, new trails, increased cost of tree maintenance, increased cost of mowing in general,
True.
the cemetery, it should have gone up by about that, and you elected to not do the burns and keep the.
do we have any idea in dollar value what that has meant for the rate card? So
Neutral.
so it's cost neutral.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, so plus people are not getting their booms loaded and the other half aren't, it's not fair. Okay, on people that aren't going to get booms loaded to pay for it. So for all the people in Roxburgh that don't pay for the trucks, that don't use them, they're still having to pay for them. How is that fair? But we're putting so much money into trails, and I like, don't get me wrong, I like it, I like this, like trails, I like it walkways. But a large proportion of the whole community that's not using that they're paying for, and yet they're struggling to keep their properties looking good. You know, so there's, you know, you've got fairness on one hand and unfairness on the other.
That's the decision that we took a while back, Jill.
I didn't take it. I voted against it.
Yeah.
And it's coming back to bite, and people are really hacked off.
So,
It wasn't a targeted through the chair, it wasn't a targeted rate for the people who received benefit, so the farmers were also paying for that. Everybody was, the whole ward.
Yeah.
Was paying a percentage.
But it kept our town looking good, you know, and the whole ward doesn't mind paying for something if you drive into your town and grass and road, it's
and I wouldn't stop them from doing that.
are we being asked to volunteer?
We do a lot of volunteerism.
No, I realise that, but this is a different level because the bins do not belong to the property owner, they belong to the council.
There may be some people, I guess, if you were putting out that user drop, that might start that conversation
Yeah,
of people who are mowing to think, oh, well, you know, the person who lives 2 doors down from me might not be able to, and I'll pop down there and mow theirs at the
Yeah,
same
I
time.
think that's.
I mean, that is happening. That is happening.
Yeah.
But we are also blessed with a number of absentee owners who would only see this once a month. And it's not only the booms that are unmown, it's their own inside their boundary. We've taken a decision, and I think that we've made, and the majority of us agreed that we made the right decision. And the expectation from that was that we got support from the ratepayers with that decision. While it may not have sat easily with a number of them, we do expect that people in the community will support our decision. And the way that they can offer their support is to take responsibility for what we've asked them to, as they expect us to do in a whole raft of issues around the rates expenditure. I don't know what else we can offer them.
I agree with you, Norm. I think that we made a decision and now it's a question of how we massage that decision to become more acceptable to the community.
Yeah.
We've got it will be a surprise to some people, and that's why they haven't mowed them.
Yeah.
And they will get resolved because they'll go, oh, that's what we've got to do now. Communication can help that. The second thing is the people that just physically can't do it, who presumably don't have a front lawn or a back lawn of their own, or the verge is in a particularly dangerous sort of situation. There'll be a few of those, but I don't know why they can't mow their burn if they do mow their lawn. So maybe there are only a few of those type of people, and then there are the very old people that don't have a lawn at the moment, but do have a verge. And there is it doesn't have to be old, just if you don't have a lawn of your own, you don't have a lawnmower and you don't mow lawns, you can't be expected to go and buy a lawn. So we need to, somehow determine how many fall into those sort of categories. And it may be that there is some way the council can mow those that are in that particular category. Well, no, we're not the first council that have gone through this.
Well, isn't there subsidy that some people can get, and I don't know if it's true.
There's,
People that are,
older people
yeah,
disability.
yeah, there's a disability payment, because there's a lady that lives locally that came and talked to me, and she's not physically able to mow her lawns, and then she went and saw Diana, and Diana helped get her the information, and I gave her that information way ahead of time, so that she had someone to mow lawns before the rain. And so, yeah, she got onto that subsidy. So there is a subsidy.
MSD do provide a subsidy for lawn mowing for those that struggle to do them themselves as well.
So they must be already getting that.
Yeah.
If they qualify for a subsidy, they must be already getting that.
Yeah.
Because they presumably aren't doing their own lawns.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
You have to ask.
Yeah.
It's not more than that.
no, that's what I mean. But they're eligible for it. That's what I should say. So I got something for those people that can't do it. The ones that are being socially disruptive or just don't want to do it. I don't have much sympathy for them. I mean, the rest of the community do
I
it.
think they've been socially disrupted. It's land that does not belong to them and they don't want to have to pay to look after it.
But okay, well, the result is So I think maybe if we could get a letter together that we do put out, it might be two versions. One's the version of the people that are known saying thank you, and one's the people that and can you please, if you see your neighbours, please help them. And the ones that aren't knowing it, then maybe we can say, well, here are some options and issues, and maybe we can get a volunteer people that can help. And if it's a question of 50 verges, is that the number we're talking about? Does anybody get any idea? Is it 50 verges?
I mean, I drove around the streets looking at the number of verges that haven't been mown, and there aren't a lot,
No. It's not.
but they do stick out, and for a period of time. Our biggest concern would be fire risk and when things get dry.
And part of this could be because they didn't know.
Yeah,
So at least half
And I think it takes a bit of bedding in when you change.
Yeah.
I think you can't expect it to.
it should take a try. It's just, and I'm not saying they don't, but anyway. So carrying on with my, will you look after that then, David? The communication. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrying on with my chair's report. The other part of the feedback I've been getting from the community, and it's really pleasing. And it's been prompted by some negative feedback that's been placed on Teviot Valley Facebook too about our former mayor's exit and your comments. You put it on a Facebook page. Yes, through social media, putting in good riddance. Anyway, the feedback that I've been getting has been positive and supportive of the board's efforts, which has been really pleasing. And it's a number of people, and it's been something that I haven't seen prior to now. Just thanking us for the time and the effort that we put into doing stuff for the community. So I thought I'd pass that on to you guys as well. And that's about it for my chair's report.
Just noting we had a few video and audio. The audio was only out for about a minute.
Right. Okay. So you want me to do something?
No.
Okay, so I move that my report be accepted. So I've seconded it. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Carried.
Sorry, I'm just looking at something else and I'm not concentrating.
Sally's on
Take
leave.
So members' reports. 25, we're 20 minutes running, 20 minutes behind schedule. Members' reports, Sally.
Yeah, I attended a meeting for our local community response group, and we practiced hooking up to Starlink and getting the chief radio going. Next week, council's having a emergency management day where they're going through a scenario, and I'm planning to come over and call into Alex from here using the technology that we've got here with getting Starlink going and their chief practice, and hopefully some other people from my group. We're also in the middle of putting a brochure together for the Roxburgh area, so we're just working on that at the moment, and hopefully we'll get that soon. I had a swimming pool meeting, and just to let everyone know, we're still advertising for lifeguards, and we, as much as we're sort of advertising it as a full-time position, we also would be quite keen to get, say, 4 lifeguards that all wanted to do job sharing, and they didn't want to do, say, a 35-hour week, they wanted to do maybe 15 or 20 hours, and if we had a pool of, say, 4, then they could work up the roster amongst themselves, so they could, you know, cover for each other, and maybe some weeks they work longer and some weeks they work less, and they could figure it out themselves. So we're still actually interviewing good people for lifeguards this evening, but it's really hard work trying to get lifeguards.
They get paid, so.
They get paid $26 an hour. Yeah, so it's a really good.
And as you're saying before, we have to have.
We have to, yeah, and there is also potential if we got lifeguards from outside of this district. So say we had lifeguards coming out from Alice, that we could get a subsidy to pay for petrol to get them down here. So, you know, we're not limited to having to find a lifeguard within our valley. But last year at the pool, the feedback was it'd be so great to have lifeguards so we could drop our kids off, but no one's putting their hand up to be a lifeguard. So we need those people that want that service to also really need to be interested, you know, or there was a lot of people that were like, oh, I would have been a lifeguard if I'd known, you know. So anyway, we're continuing to advertise for lifeguards. I met Pat Garden down at the River Track because we've started some planting, some plants that we got from High Hayata Trust, and I'm actually meeting Rachel from High Hayata there next week with Pat Garden to look at continuing our planting along, and Hayata's been really great support to us and giving us, donating plants to us, but we also received a little bit of money from the thrift shop that we can buy some plants through them now as well. And our whole plan along that area isn't to do it all in one go. It's just to chip away and just do section by section. So that's cool. Also just to note there, yesterday we at council, we talked about a draft open spaces and recreation policy, and that will be coming to forward. And I thought, so part of it was enabling groups like our group that's doing the planting to be able to do more of these initiatives within our area. So I think it would be really great, rather than saying we want these groups, it's like, well, how could the board then recognise areas, like for example, the river tracks, that we could do more planting, so that we're actually kind of giving the community permission to be able to get on with the project.
That's, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what our hope for the LTP is with our master plan.
Yeah, yeah. So that will be coming to us. Right. So then I'll just move on to my council report. And the last council meeting I attended was the 25th of September, where we had the districtisation discussion. And just noting that we had really good support for option 2, where the Teviot Valley pays $41 instead of $233, you know, from the other councils. I think that was a good example of me being the only councillor from this ward, but we really got great support from the council for that, because they saw that as fair. You know, really good. At that meeting, we also discussed a visitor levy for short-term accommodation. I wasn't actually part of that discussion because I had a conflict of interest. So, but that's something that they're looking into. We had a workshop on the 30th of September, and I'm just going to pull out something that I thought was from interest around waste. 150 kilos less waste going to landfill per rateable property since we've introduced our green bin.
That's district wide or ward,
Yeah,
ward based?
yeah, no, district wide. And the national average for waste is 750 kilos per person, and COD sector's average is 587. So we follow the national average.
About 6%.
Which is pretty cool. On the 3rd of October, I attended an audit and risk meeting. And 15th of October, we had another workshop on rating policy and volumetric charging and development of financial contributions. And we did have a discussion looking into volumetric charging and changing our percentages so that it would be a higher cost for water use than that uniform charge. So that, for example, pensioners that live here that don't use very much water, even though the cost per unit of water would go up, the uniform charge would go down. So they could potentially save money, because they're probably the people that do turn their water off between brushing their teeth. You know, they don't leave the tap running. And so like them not turning the heater on because they want to save money on their electricity bill, would give them a greater ability to be able to reduce their water bill.
So that's a suggestion, or is it?
It's something that we're looking into.
So we will take that into the LTP. So we'll work the long-term plan, volumetric charging proposition will be proposing $2.40 as opposed to 50 cents for the charge. Hasn't gone up since 2012, and that has to go back to council, but that's sort of where the proposition
And reduce the uniform.
That's right. So it's an offset, and then the top 25% of users will pay more, and historically the other 75 will pay less. 75% will pay less.
And just to give you a stat, 8% of connections use 43% of our water, and 60% of connections use only 15%.
So again,
Sounds fair to me.
8% of connections use 43% of the water,
whoa,
and 60% of connections use 15%.
So with those connections, is that like private household? Next time.
Connections across the board. So it could be a lifestyle block. It could be a homeowner who has a
Because it's school, it's
schools are different. Medical centres, schools are treated differently.
They're the big users.
Of that connection, but it's, yeah.
But they're not in that number there.
I'd have to check, but then stalls and that are separate again in terms of the way they're treated. In this, but, also by constraining people's managing consumption, we actually can pick up the capital works program by a number of years. If we continue to consume water at 550 litres per person, then what the impact on that is, our capital works program is accelerated. So by, people conserving, we can manage that a bit better.
Exactly.
Good idea.
And last week on Thursday and Friday, we had a zone 5 and 6 meeting in Dunedin. So Tomato ROI spoke about an endpoint treatment unit solution, which would go on houses, which could potentially save us money in some of our smaller districts like Roa, where we needed to do water upgrades. Also places like Miller's Flat, wasn't it, people, although they have their own scheme in Miller's Flat, so.
Like a UV system.
Yeah, it would be a combination of filters, but effectively it is 2 or 3 filters to provide that clarity that people need for the water.
And they're looking at standardising wastewater treatment plants, so as no two are the same across the country, so that could, if it was standardised, then there wouldn't be so much consenting costs, and also, obviously delivering those services could be more efficient. LGNZ are launching a financing and funding toolkit, which is going to give us, I think that's at the next meeting, isn't it, in Wellington? I think they're launching that. So that's going to give councils and community boards ideas on how they can funding options. Good. We had a presentation from NZMCA, and this is just an idea that we could potentially scope out having an NZMCA park in the Teviot. I know that there's been people in the past who've been really interested in that, but they do have, in every park they have is a different model, but some of the models is a 50-50 profit share, going 50% of the profits going back to the community. So that could be a proposition.
That's the Motorhome Association.
Yeah, that's the Motorhome Association. Yeah.
So we've got 3 in town already, I think.
Not like a proper park. We don't have a park over. We've got like
Pop-ups.
we've got pots, but we don't have an actual NZMCA site. So they've got one in Ranfurly now. They've got one along Lake Dunstan.
At Logan.
Yeah, at Logan. Yeah.
So the racing club.
Yeah.
Hosts NTA
Well, they're
Association.
the race course hosts anyone, so you don't have to be a member to be at the
Right.
race. So you just have to have a motorhome caravan, but it's not a specific.
The golf club. They're on occasion.
Anyway, that was just food for thought. We had a presentation from Rural Health Services, and the interesting fact is that we're missing 130 GPs in rural practice. And they're looking to train rural people in rural areas to try and fill this gap. They realise it's a gap. We also had a presentation from emergency management, and that was really around the community hub model, which is what our group is setting up here in the district. And we played a really interesting game from Becca, and they didn't call it climate change, they called it climate weirding, because there's lots of weird things happening in climate. So that was the term they used, and they're looking at a new way of planning for emergency management, which is dynamic adaptive planning pathways, because things do keep changing and very dynamic in that area, in that space. And we had an update from DIA on all things related to water, and there's a Zone 6 meeting tomorrow down in Balfour with CEOs and mayors around looking at local board have done well in joining up with CCO in that discussion. And just the last one was Nick Smith did an issues paper, on trying to increase voter turnout. So, and also looking at the possibility of going to a 4-year term or something that's scoping as well. So just trying to get more people involved in voter turnout, I think.
Where's Stonepipe?
Stonepipe is Canterbury. And
Canterbury North.
Canterbury North, and 6 is Waitaki South.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good, do this like, oh,
That's me.
right, Mark,
Thought it was gonna be Joe. Okay, so, things I've done this month for the last 6 or 7 weeks. When was the last meeting?
6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
reached the long
Restaurant meeting, went to the museum meeting, went to the LTP meeting in Alexandra. That was very interesting to see the big picture stuff. And I think I had an item at the last meeting, since the last meeting. I went to a thing called the Spring Fling, which was a educare fundraiser. Was a community dance, but it was quite good to go to the Spring Fling. There were about 80 to 100 people came along to the Ettrick Hall and had a Spring Fling with a band. That was great. Had the Teviot Prospects meeting where we talked about the living wall. We're still working on improving that living wall. Talked about doing some murals out along the street. Talked about the garden show. We had a garden show last weekend, which was over Labour weekend. It rained, unfortunately, for the days before, and it was a bit misty on the day, but we still had nearly 100 people at the garden show. So that's
really?
a success. That's sort of an annual thing. And so we do that. Barbara Whittington is the main driver of that one. And importantly, we've done quite a lot of work in the last month on a potential new project, which we'll talk about soon, but it's the Middle Splat Sports and Recreation Hub, they're talking, is what we're calling it, which is an improvement on the domain there, involving around putting a AstroTurf court there and some playgrounds, and getting tennis and cricket and netball, and Middle Splat, floating the name of a Middle Splat Sports and Recreation Hub. So it's on the domain where it is at the moment. There's a decrepit tennis courts which are dangerous, and some grass there that grows, which used to be a bowling green, and it gets that long. And ground, the Parks and Reserve do a good job keeping it down, but it's a job for them to do. So we're thinking of changing that what was the bowling green into AstroTurf and putting 2 tennis and netball courts there on top of each other. And that surface will be able to be used for hockey practice, soccer practice, and we'll have a movable and cricket net there as well. And then the front half, we want to make it into a children's area where they might have a pump track and some other children's playground things, and a barbecue area, and maybe a flying fox. That's the big picture, and it's reasonably early days. We've talked to some potential funders, and that's seems to be going well. But you don't know from the funder until they actually sign the document. But yeah, we've had good feedback from them, and we've done quite a lot of work on preliminary costings, and we've had some productive discussions with Gordon and Paula regarding the overall picture there, and there's a building there that we are considering whether that's something we want to take on. But yeah, so it's an exciting project.
Well done.
I think it could be up to 650,000 altogether.
Cool.
Also, a couple of other things, adverts really, planning for the garage sale, the mighty garage sale in the community is on Saturday the 16th of November. There are currently over 65 different garage sales. It's gathering real momentum, that thing. There were 50 something last year, there's over 65 this year. So the big thing to come to.
The number of people that brings into the valley is something normal.
Oh, it's such a good time.
Yeah, but
And all the money, which I don't think is enough, $5 a person, I don't think it's enough, but it all goes back to the community. And on the 7th of November, there's a funding workshop for people that want to get community funds and donations. That's here, it's in Roxburgh on the 7th. The funding workshop is on the 7th.
It's on Tuesday, the 7th at 10:30.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the 7th, 10:30. It is, that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Jill.
It was just attending the Roxburgh Medical Trust AGM. Like I said, Glenn McDonald, he's not just a farmer, he's also an accountant. And everything seems to, there's that transition period of being from running a medical centre to becoming landlords, but there's seriously capable people on that board and things are going really well. Also kudos is not here, QP with the work that's happened on Delmere Road. We had really severe flooding that's been going on here for about 15 years. So all of it, and they have gotten onto that. It's not perfect, but people who or firms were working on that particular problem went back to check after the rain that the other weekend, the rain that we had. And yeah, I just really want to thank everybody involved, the council that has got that problem now under control. It's been great to see it happen.
Yeah, well done, QP. That was really good, because we mentioned that at the last meeting and it's been done.
Yes, had a few people on the staff about it, but yeah, no, it's great to see it being done, because it was going to cause bigger problems down the track. So yeah, so that's great.
Well, yeah, I'd move those members' reports be received. Can I have a seconder, please? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Carried. Governance reports. Is Craig online?
So,
Kia ora koutou, everyone.
Sarah's bringing this up just to give you some background to Craig. So Craig is working with council in a short-term contract delivering on the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs program, which is a nationally funded program. Only a few councils have this program, and the role Craig will tell you, but it's about supporting younger people into employment.
Hey, can you hear?
There he is.
Kia ora koutou, everyone.
Oh, is that the TV volume? Try talking now, Craig.
Kia ora koutou. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Hey, thanks so much for giving me a few minutes to spread the words about this awesome program that we're running here through CODC. Just a wee bit of a background. We're funded by the Ministry of Social Development and in partnership with Local Government New Zealand. And our role is to find young people who are not in full-time education, employment or training, or are at risk of becoming a NEET, as they say. And I get to work with them one-on-one and support them to become ready for work if they're not already there. And then I spend quite a bit of time engaging employers and linking in these young people with employers and supporting them the whole way through that recruitment process and then beyond. So quite a big part of what we do is pastoral support once the young person is into employment. We've had quite a bit of success, but 16 so far since March, and a couple of successes in the Teviot Valley. So got a young lady into the rest home, the Teviot Valley rest home, and a young man working at Roxburgh Dam, which is pretty cool. So I was just sort of hoping to spread the word a little bit, and it'd be really amazing if people could just start sort of keeping MTFJ in mind and maybe mentioning it to local employers or finding if you do hear of any young people under 25 who are looking for work, often the referral comes through parents, caregivers, friends, whānau, and so on as well. So I've got I think it's a 4.5 minute presentation. Have I got time, Dylan, to stick that on?
You go for it.
Yeah, cool. Share screen. Bear with me. Slideshow. So basically, what we can do as part of the program, is I work with the young people. We do CVs, interview preparation, help them applying for roles. A lot of the roles we actually find aren't advertised. It's just engaging employers and finding employers that are really keen to support young people coming on board. So with that, I can then get them some work placements. And I've also got a reasonable amount of funding to help them with work gear, like tools, work boots, clothing, driving licensing as well. Actually, I've got a bit of money to help towards that, and training. And then employers, obviously, we can help them find suitable staff. And once they're in employment, I've got as long as it needs, I've got that pastoral support there to try and help that job seeker keep it as a sustainable employment. And also the employer can benefit from a bit of contribution towards induction costs and training costs and stuff for that young person. So just to sort of show the power of this mahi, there's a wee video made, I believe this was Hawke's Bay. Action.
So the magic of Mayor's Task Force for Jobs is that it's a movement. It started many years ago, and it's a movement based on the fact that mayors all over the country know that young people and young people actively engaged in our economy through employment are the secret to the future success of all of our communities.
Yeah, I didn't really find school that great. I didn't like school too much. I wasn't a thinker, as you'd say. I don't know. I was more into outdoors sort of stuff and physical learning. I didn't have a plan when I left school. The MTFJ program helped a lot to find a job. They they helped build a CV. They also helped with my full driver's license.
Yeah, it's been exciting watching Carlos grow through and develop skills. It's been very helpful. It's been good. That's more the heavy lifting.
Without the MTFJ program, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. Yeah, doing who knows what. But yeah.
So it's been really beneficial for us, and it's great to have the friendship with Carlos and his family.
I mean, he could, if he really wanted to, he could start his own business, down the track, because he's got the skill set to do it. Yeah.
They're real people delivering real service, and I'm just really proud of that. It's not about a system, it's about people.
Well, my future now looks a lot brighter than what it did 3 years ago. So if you're looking for work, I'd recommend going and talking to the people at the MTFJ program.
Did that video work?
You go.
Cool. So thank you for your time there. Just like I'm saying, be really excited if as a community board members you are really able to promote this within the Teviot Valley. And yeah, hopefully try and find some more pathways for some of our local youth.
Craig, could you send a link to that video with your contact details, and I can forward it on to the community board members?
Yeah, I can do that, absolutely.
And so Craig's been going around the different business breakfast groups and schools connecting in. So I get what the shout out here is, you know your community best, you know the employers, you know the parents, and things like that. So you know if there's someone needing a connection, whether it's the employer or the potential employee, you can contact Craig.
I know from the rest home perspective, having Taylor part of the mentoring program and being introduced to the rest home has been extremely helpful, because it's opened up a whole new sort of realm of, I guess, potential employees that we hadn't previously considered. Fantastic.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's quite I think that one of the things I love about the program, it feels like the ambulance at the top of the cliff, which I think is quite rare when you come to sort of social services and in that umbrella. Because it's really about trying to prevent young people ending up long-term unemployed. So yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Cool. Thank you everyone. Got a coat out.
Yeah. No, it comes funded through MSD, but it's not available to every territorial authority across the country. In fact, I'm in the South Island. Not that many. No, so we're quite unique. Yeah. So we want to keep it going and keep proving the results, and we will continue to get funding. If we don't prove the results, we won't continue to get funding. We need your support. Yep.
No, I just had a question on it, Norm, if possible. Just with your experience through the rest home.
Yep.
Because one of the biggest barriers talking to some of my friends who are business owners is that some young people coming out of school when it's their first job require a substantial amount of pastoral care, and business owners don't always have time to be an effective parent as well. Have you found that kind of pastoral care stuff?
They're right. They do, particularly in the first sort of, I guess, the bedding in period, where they need to be able to build their confidence. And I mean, aged care is a difficult situation for a lot of people to be working in anyway, no matter what age you are. But yeah, this young lass has just taken huge steps in terms of her own capability and confidence, and well worth the investment is what I would say.
She's also got a strong thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not online.
Yeah, I mean, she came in at a time where Marianne Hamilton, the ultimate matriarch in aged care, was at the helm, and she just flourished under Marianne, and with Diana, our new manager. There was another couple of younger, one was mid to late 20s, the other one was early 20s. So yeah, so we're getting a younger crew looking at opportunities within aged care in the valley, which is really good. We generally
Update their promo video. She might like to be a part.
yeah, well, I mean, it would be up to
And there's going to be no shortage of clients.
well, in the whole health sector, there's such demand for people. Yeah.
Doesn't be marrying to sort of make words you don't need to say.
Yeah. Okay. Teviot Valley Community Board extraordinary vacancy. Mr. Kelly, you're up.
Yeah, and Sarah's here as well. So this has obviously been brought about by Russell's resignation, which was immediate. And so there's a couple of things in the Local Electoral Act 2001 which governs the process. It's a bit of a two-step process too. So you have a resolution in front of you today. And then, the second part of the process is, the way I read it anyway, we just have to do a little bit of stuff in the background, and then it comes back as another resolution to confirm the report. But first of all, it's a resolution today. You have to make a decision as to whether you wish to fill the appointment or not. And if you do wish to fill the appointment, then you have to nominate a member. Some more precise words in the resolution.
So we have identified a person we wish to nominate. So I guess the first part of it is that we, as a board, agree that we will continue to fill it, as opposed to leaving it vacant.
I have the one of 3 parts.
No, you're gonna.
That.
Yeah.
So A, receive a report and accept the level of significance. B, agrees that the extraordinary vacancy for the Teviot Valley Community Board will be filled. And C, agrees to nominate.
Yeah. So, did anyone hear what Sarah just said? So, item or part B of that agrees that the extraordinary vacancy for the Teviot Valley Community Board be filled. All on agreement with that. No one's got any other comments to make around that. Okay. So the recommendations are: receives the report and accepts the level of significance, agrees the vacancy be filled, agrees to nominate Curtis Abbott to fill the vacancy. Items A, B, and C. So I'll move that we follow those recommendations. Can I have a seconder, please? All those in favour say aye. Those against say nay. Carry. I'm thrilled that we've found someone like Curtis come on board, so to speak.
And as I kind of mentioned, but as well, I think with Raymond stepping down, he was really did represent that farming sector on our board, and we've kind of really noticed that we've got that gap in the farming rural sector.
Yeah.
On the board, so I think it's great.
We've got 50 farms in the valley.
Yeah.
Can I just say that to the government report, we didn't actually move that. There are a couple of other things after we spoke to Craig. There are a couple of things on the governance report. So there's the note about the council alcohol and public places bylaw, which is still
Sorry.
count. And then we've just got the within
Okay. So what were you saying that we're looking at? Oh, the alcohol. Yeah. Okay. So going back to item 24.7.6. We've received a regulatory update and around the council alcohol public places bylaw. We need to sort of.
just moving the report. If everyone's happy with what's presented there.
So has anyone got any comment about that?
So I'm putting in comments, so with that alcohol, so they're not allowed it in the car.
Oh.
They're just not allowed to drink on the street, or they can have it in the boot, or no open bottles in the vehicle. I mean,
So they can transfer it from the location where they purchased it to the farm, which is not covered. But police have the option to dispose of it.
So,
It just gives the police, as I understand, the police powers to, and no one else, to stop them drinking in the main street, basically.
it's
Recorded.
particularly helpful for moving on from
Yeah.
the behaviour.
Yeah.
So like, so if they've been between Hettrick and Roxburgh, they get to Roxburgh, they've got to empty out. To keep walking, they've got to empty out and go on through.
So that we don't, like, have the option to tip it away.
Yeah.
And then take it off.
So does that give the police the option just to pull up the vehicle or these vehicles randomly, or do they have to have some sign of breaking a law like speeding or bad behaviour, bad driving behaviour, or can the police just stop them at random?
So if they're breaking the law, that's not the alcohol violence, so that's being that fits that condition, that's better. Police think that consuming alcohol inside the vehicle, that's ban in place, that one, that's one. Then the other legal breach, separate legislation.
I'm just aware that sometimes these things were, like I'm in agreement with, because I've been here for a long time, seeing the damage that has been done through glossy weekends, and sometimes it's nothing, and other times it's accidental.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that a lot of these things are very thin, so sometimes a very good wedge of regulation.
But I think if people weren't showing bad behaviour, I think it would be more, it's a tool to be used in your.
It's only for blossom season too,
Yeah.
not for the whole year. And
I can raise the response. My experience,
Right. So I'll just quickly scan through the rest of the status reports. I don't think there's anything here that I want to seek clarification on or update on. Anyone else? Okay, so I move that this report be received. Have a seconder, thanks. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Carried. Right. Date of the next meeting is Thursday, the 5th of December. So, do we close the meeting now?
Yeah.
Close, declare this meeting closed, and thank you for your attendance.